Hello, everybody. Welcome, Olivier. How are you doing? Can you hear us?
Fine, perfect. Can you hear me well?
Absolutely. Welcome,
Great,
Olivier. We see
thank
you
you.
here today. So you can go ahead. The floor is yours whenever you're ready.
Okay, I'm gonna try to share my screen. Tell me if it works.
Thank you. In the meantime, I'm thanking you for being here. This is really great, trying to together to move to the next era in which we're in, finding the new opportunities. And Engie is definitely one of the drivers of the golden age of green. Solving some of the key problems we're all facing. So looking forward to this panel. Please, everyone, feel free to ask a lot of questions, and we'll do our best to answer all of them. Thank you.
Can you share my screen?
Yes, Olivier.
So that's fine. So yeah, thanks a lot for having me with you today, guys. And I just wanted to take advantage of the short presentation to discuss the revolution of the energy sector. And according to the topic, which is the eco-city revolution, how city could be part of that energy revolution. So let me start with very high-level figures according to again what we are talking about here. Here, really, I just want to focus on the fact that I do believe that we do all agree about the fact that we do need to tackle with the climate change. And most of the time, we can hear that the energy sector or maybe the cities are the problem. My personal belief is that obviously the energy sector is responsible for emitting lots of GHG emission. This is for sure. 50% as well of the GHG global emission are produced within city. But let me assume something. Let me say that the energy sector and cities could bring as well lots of benefits and solutions in the frame of the fight against the climate change. And this is really what when I was in Boston effectively 2 years ago, something we are focused on, and really we do say that cities could help us to meet our target in terms of carbon footprint reduction. So let me start saying that if we want to fight against GHG emission, the two fundamental components of lower GHG emission are definitively reduced energy consumption and energy decarbonization. And if we do want to achieve those two targets, we can do that through a series of levers. The first one being energy efficiency, where the potential for energy savings is huge, and it could be up to 1/3 of the energy consumption globally. The second one is definitively to be able to inject more and more renewables for the power generation, but as well in other sectors such as industries or transportation or heating and cooling, and we will be discussing that point later on, I'm sorry. And the last one, and maybe one of the most important, is really related to energy sobriety. Since I totally believe that we will be able to face the rise of temperature, and we will be able to limit the impact of the climate change if we do change our behaviors and maybe some mentalities and practices that we do have so far. So let's start with a first table with indicators coming from the Internal Renewable Agency. Those indicators are very high-level indicators, but it gives you an idea of where we are heading, and where we should be in the future if we want to, again, to limit the rise in temperature below the 2 degrees C. So you can see that in that table you have indicators related to energy-related CO2 emissions, energy demand, fossil fuel, and the change in fossil fuel demand compared to 2016. What you can see in that table is that the energy-related emission kept growing till the last years, and it is expected to slightly decrease, but just a little bit if you look at the two top figures in yellow, very far above where we should be if we want again to limit as much as possible the climate change impact in the future. The energy demand kept growing and will keep growing in the future. We know that, but we will have to limit as much as possible the increase in terms of energy demand, and we will have to be working on energy efficiency. I'll come back on that later. And in terms of fossil fuel, the good news is that it increased a little bit throughout the last years, and it's gonna decrease, but slightly decrease in the future. But again, the bad news is that we are still above where we should be in order to limit as much as possible, once again, the impact. And if you look at the switch, or maybe the shift in terms of fossil fuel demands, the very good news is that coal is reducing, or the use of coal is reducing, is decreasing almost everywhere. It's not totally true, but almost everywhere. But the bad news is that the coal so far is replaced by gas, since we have to transition. Let me say that that way we have to transition towards renewables, and to transition from coal to renewables directly might be, depending on the sectors, very difficult. So the bad news is that the fossil fuel is still far above where we should be, again, in the frame of the fight against climate change. Those figures are coming from Bloomberg, so those indicators are slightly different. You will see that. I know that the numbers may be a little bit different, but again, it's very difficult to have figures totally aligned from one database to another one. But the trends are more or less the same. And if you look at the final energy consumption by fuel between now and 2050, the main key learnings of those two figures is that the energy demand keeps increasing, as mentioned. The electrification of end uses is gaining momentum quite significantly. We will see that later. Oil demand will reach kind of a plateau, as we saw that in the international renewable table previously. And gas will continue, to play a key role for decades. And again, we do assume that gas is going to be a kind of a transitioning energy, and green gases will gradually replace natural gas as technology improves and costs decline in the future. And if you look on the right of the slide, the primary fuel consumption in 2050, you still can see that the fossil fuel will play a major role, and the share of renewables, if we keep working or living as we do right now, will be around 30%, which is not enough in order to fight against the impact of climate change. So let's focus right now on energy-related CO2 emissions. I mentioned the fact that we have to reduce globally our GHG emission, but most of the time, in fact, we are talking about electricity and power generation. If you look at the graph and the curves, you can see that according to what we have done so far and all the effort made in terms of renewables for power generation, you can see that the curves related to power generation and GHG emission related to power generation is decreasing quite significantly. So we can see that all the efforts are valuable, and it's going to be profitable for us, again, in order to reduce the GHG emission. But if you look at other sectors, like industry, both for processes or heating or cooling in industry, transportation and buildings, you can see on the graph that we still need to focus on that in order to be able to decrease globally the GHG emission, and globally meaning worldwide as well, but all over the different verticals where we do use, where we do need some energy, and where we are producing some CO2 emission. And if you look on the right of the slide, and again, according to a scenario which is a sustainable scenario issued by the international agency, energy agency, you have the levers on which we should focus on in order to be able to curb the curve which is related to CO2 emission. And again, what we can see, we will have to work on energy efficiency, renewable fuel switching. Nuclear is going to be part of the mix of energy in the future. And in France, it's obvious, but it's going to be the case almost everywhere. CO2 capture is going to be an emerging technology, but we will see that in the coming slide. So my point is that if we want to tackle the GHG emission, and if we want to succeed in the transformation, we have to go beyond the power generation, and we have to focus on heating, cooling, and transportation sector as well. So at the very beginning of the presentation, I did say that, according to me, cities, are part of the solution and are part of the problem for sure, but are part of the solution. This is definitively my belief. So as you can see, we do expect that 70% of the population will be living in cities by 2050. And 50% of carbon emission are produced within city. 50% of the final energy consumption is due to heating. So again, this stresses the importance of the heating and cooling sector. And regarding the cooling, we do expect that the cooling demand will increase in the future by almost 200% between 2016 and 2050. So the heating and cooling sector are very significant, and we have to pay attention to the sectors in addition to industry and transportation. And when we meet with mayors or authorities within cities, and when they do express their concerns for the future, you have most of them on the left of the slide, and again, it's always related to CO2 reduction and the carbon footprint reduction for a campus, for a city, or for an hospital, for instance. Energy efficiency, since we do know that we could reduce quite significantly the thermal losses. How to inject renewables in order to meet the demand of the citizens, how to inject renewables, but as well local energies. And we will get back on that to discuss a little bit about how to talk about the circular economy, and how to offer to citizens safe and resilient infrastructure in order to meet the demand. Again, to bring to the citizen or the population cost savings and competitive solution, high satisfaction, since the service need to be delivered whatever it takes, and the COVID situation that we have been experiencing for quite a long right now, I think demonstrated the needs for resilient infrastructure. The role of digital is going to be crucial in the future. This is something that has been stressed, if I recall correctly, in the previous presentation, but the role of digital is going to be very important in the future. And another topic which is more and more important is really to bring back nature within the cities. So more and more we have to think about as well nature-based solution in order to reduce what we call the heat island effect within cities. And those solutions can deal with that heat island effect, which is due to the human activity, which is due to the transportation, but which is due as well to the cooling, since when you do want to chill a building, you are producing heat that you reject on the outside. So my job is to promote and to assist people that would like to implement what we call district energy systems. To be honest with you, this is a very old technology. This is not at all technology, but this is a technology, and this is a topic which is of interest right now within cities due to the benefit that they can bring to cities. And more and more mayors and more shareholders within cities are paying attention to those district energy systems. So what is a district energy system? Basically, it's a system where you transfer thermal energy in the form of steam, hot water, or chilled water from a central energy plant to buildings in order to deliver to the buildings heat and cold to meet the needs for comfort, but as well maybe for processes within industries. So this is very basic, and again, this is not really new. We will see that in the next slide. But what we can achieve with this very old decade technology is that we are able to deal with energy efficiency, to bring more and more renewables, and to meet the demand of the citizen of a city. So why I was saying that this is a very old technology, and again, this technology appeared at the very beginning of the last century. So this is not new at all. And at that time, this technology was very simple and composed by, let's say, one central plant fed by coal most of the time, producing steam delivered to buildings in order to meet their demands in terms of heating demand. I'm sorry. And what happened throughout the years is that we have been able to adapt ourselves to the new trend and to the new needs of our customers and adapt our technology. And the good news is that when you look at the graph, the progress we made are tremendous, to be clear with you. So we have been able to lower the supply temperature of our systems. And the main benefits of this is that this increased the energy efficiency of the system. So again, we were at almost 200 degrees C 1 century ago, and we are talking right now about very ultra low temperature district heating with a supply temperature of, let's say, something between 50 to 70 degrees C. And the main benefits of that is that you are reducing the thermal losses, so you are increasing the energy efficiency. You widen all the applicable technologies that could feed those network, and you can see on the top, on the right of the slide, that right now we are able to feed the network thanks to lots of different technologies. The last one being maybe heat pumps, geothermal solution, renewables, solar panels, biogas, biofuel. In the future, it's going to be certainly hydrogen. So the good news is that, again, we are widening right now all the technologies which are applicable to feed this network in order to meet the demand of a city. So this allows us to use more and more renewables at a city scale, renewables that couldn't be used if you had to use them for a standalone solution at a building scale. The good news here is that we are able to use large amount of renewables, so we are able to inject lots of renewables within a city, avoiding lots of GHG emission. It allows us as well to mutualize the means of production, reducing the life cycle cost, the capex and the opex cost throughout throughout the lifetime of the asset, to be clear with you. And the future of that activity is certainly on what we call sector integration and sector coupling. And my belief is that district heating systems and cooling systems enable sector coupling in the future. And this will bring more synergies and more energy efficiencies measures. So if you look at the trend of district energy system in Europe and globally, so if you look at the graph, you can see that the use of fossil fuel is decreased and keep decreasing quite significantly. So the amount of renewables is increasing again, or increases quite significantly. And that table is dated of 2015, if I recall correctly. Just to give you an idea, right now in France we do have 700 systems of that kind, and the renewable share for those systems is around 60%, with a target to be able to reach 65% of renewables of the primary energy use in order to meet the demands of all those systems. So my point is that those systems allows us to decrease quite significantly the use of fossil fuels and to switch from fossil fuels to renewables. And if you look at the global trend, the pace is not the same, but you can see that the trend is the same. And according to all the plans, the urban energy plan that we can see worldwide within cities, we do know that we are going to inject more and more renewables into cities, thanks to the system. So we do expect that even if the heat demand will slightly decline a little bit due to energy efficiency, the district energy systems are going to produce around 30% of the energy consumption in terms of heat, compared to 10% today. And another emerging technology is definitively heat pumps. Due to the electrification of the heating sector, heat pumps are going to increase in terms of number of heat pumps installed in the world, and this is already ongoing. If you look at the US, the table may not be totally complete, if I can say that, since the data that I'm showing right now are based on only 660, if I recall correctly, district energy systems installed or implemented in the US. And you can see that natural gas is the main energy used so far in the US. But according to what I saw, I'm not really concerned. I do know that the share of energy renewables will increase in the near future. To me, this slide shows what I call the sector integration and the sector coupling, and to me this is the future of our activity. And if you look at that activity from an investment or an innovation or research and development perspectives, you have here some of the topics that maybe you should be interested in the future, or where it might be interesting for you to invest in the future. And again, sector coupling is really refers to planning and operating the system as a whole system across multiple energy carrier, infrastructure, and consumption. And it's going to create lots of synergies and energy savings. And this is really something that we promote at the European level right now. And we do want the sector coupling to be part of what we call in Europe the Green Deal. According to me, something which is missing right now on the diagram is the storage. Thermal storage, to me, is a key component to enable the sector coupling in the future. and the technology of thermal storage it's not that well developed, and this is certainly a technology in which we should invest in the future in terms of research and development, innovation, and this is the missing component right now to totally enable the sector coupling.
So Olivier, we are 5 minutes away from the end of the talk, so I don't know if you want to open up for a few questions. Otherwise, you can continue until the end. You decide.
Okay, I'm just going to give a few words, to give a few numbers about the market size, just to give you an idea of what we are talking about, in fact. And I just wanted to focus on the current trend and the market drivers for cities, according to again to that kind of technology and district energy system and the interest that cities could have regarding those systems. So you have here the main drivers: urbanization, value for building owner, and long-term partnership for cities and with cities. And I mentioned at the bottom of the slide some of the recent deals that we concluded. All of them are long-term deals, so 50 years, 35 years. All of them are valued above $1 billion, and all of them are related to energy efficiency, modernization, and operation and maintenance throughout the lifetime of the asset. I'm gonna switch that one if you allow me. This is, but you will have the slide if you are interested in. This is the investment, the global investment worldwide, and the trends of the investment in power generation, renewables in power generation. And regarding the DES, I mentioned the fact that, again, this is for us a revolution. Again, we came from steam and coal, and now we are talking about blockchain, artificial intelligence. So I just wanted to have a very short list of domains, if I can say that, where we are working on right now, where we should focus on in the future, to be clear with you, and according to me, where it could be very interesting from an investment perspective to invest in the future. And I mentioned most of them already. Energy management is key. This is tied to digitalization. This is also tied to artificial intelligence, machine learning, for predictive maintenance, for predictive for pollution forecast. And this is gonna be key for us. And with machine learning, we do expect to generate more and more energy savings in the future. Decentralized on-site generation. Again, new technology are going to appear. Solar heat pumps are some of them, but again, we do expect that most are going to appear in the future. Thermal storage, to me, it's a key component which is missing right now. And again, this is something we discussed with the European Commission, to be transparent with you. And I think they totally agree on the fact that we should focus on thermal storage and to allocate some R&D cost in the future in order to promote the technology that will enable, once again, the sector coupling. Blockchain as well could be an emerging technology for us. To be clear with you, we are already on that, but this is more related to the certification of the origin of the energy, if I can say that. But let me assume that in the future, and based again on the sector coupling, that peer-to-peer exchange will appear, and peer-to-peer monetization of the exchange will appear in the future, and blockchain technology might be an enabler for that. And the last one, so CO2 capture is going to be an emerging technology. It's already existing, I know that, but again, we will have to improve the technology in order to industrialize, if I can say that, at a very large scale, the CO2 capture. New cooling technology to get rid of refrigerants. I do believe that this might be a disruptive topic to focus on and to investigate. Green hydrogen, I already mentioned that. Hydrogen is expected to play key role in the future, and maybe not to replace natural gas, but to replace part of the natural gas used so far. Financing, we will need to invest in a new business model, to find new business model in order to promote what we call the net present value approach. So the net present value approach is ready to assess the value of a project throughout the lifetime of the asset. And we do believe as well that we do have to change the criteria selection for projects, and to bring or to take into consideration the external positivities that district energy system could bring and could provide to a city in the future. So this is as well a topic on which we will have to investigate and to improve.
Okay.
My last slide, just to give you a few figures about the investment which are needed in Europe. We do expect that we should triple the number of DES. We expect 47 billions of investment in order to again to promote those kind of solution. Heat pumps is going to be an emerging technology, and this is certainly something you should look at. And all the green package and the recovery plan are going to dedicate a bit investment to the greening of the energy sector. So pay attention to that. And again, this is a very old technology, but to me, a very promising technology.
Excellent. Olivier, thank you so much for this.